Hello and welcome to Talking WoW, the podcast where we talk about World of Warcraft, believe it or not. My name is Thom, and today we are going to be discussing the dizzying heights of the Eastern Kingdoms Cup, the dragon riding event. And to do that, I am joined by the Eastern Kingdoms Cup champion of Talking WoW, Marty. Start your engines. Here we are again, Marty, talking about dragon riding in World of Warcraft. And one of the latest events was the introduction of the Eastern Kingdoms Cup, which lets us fly our dragons in, believe it or not, the Eastern Kingdoms. So we're doing races in that part of the world after we had initially the Kalimdor Cup, which me and you were very, very much in high praise of how they had implemented these dragon races into the classic world. We're at it again in Eastern Kingdom. So what do we say, Marty? What do we say? That do we think this is working as a formula? Jumping to each continent are you getting like same satisfaction you got from Kalimdor?
I mean, let's just start out like we did the last time. Yes, I'm really enjoying these. Holy crap, it's so slow to freaking fly between races.
Yeah, we basically used most of the script from the Kalimdor episode in this, but
yeah, just a repeat.
It just keeps highlighting it, doesn't it? That
it does.
I will say, though, I think, and I don't know, I need to go get my measuring tape out, but I'm not sure if Kalimdor is bigger than Eastern Kingdoms. I think it is. It feels like it is. It feels like there's more open space to just endlessly fly through compared to Eastern Kingdoms, where it feels like you move through zones just a little bit quicker. But yeah, it just keeps highlighting that we definitely do need dragon riding in the classic world and beyond. Yes. Because it's a slug, isn't it? Just playing on our dragons and then going on our normal mount. It's like, hang on a second, this just doesn't feel too right. And we were talking just before we hit that record button about every time how we like take a portal to a city and then we're hitting like spacebar twice, to take off. And it's like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work here.
Nothing happens. You're just sitting there awkward in the air. And if you're also moving forward, at least what happens with me is my camera is always tilted a little bit down. So when I move forward, I jump up and then I hit down on the ground again when I'm on a normal mount. So just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing. There's just people watching you, laughing, judging you.
Exactly.
And
they are so much
we
judgment.
don't want that. We don't want that at all.
No.
So yeah, we decided as well for this one that we were going to live stream our progress in this. In hindsight, maybe a bit of a disaster on my part, because Marty decided, didn't you, that we were going to start off in the north and work our way down. So we start off in the plague lands, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, I basically just followed, what you said we should do in the other race.
Don't bring me into this. It wasn't my idea.
Very soon, where I wanted to start in the south, and you were like, "No, we're starting in the north." So I was just following your own words, dude. So
yeah, obviously the tailwind did not line up for me. But we started off up in the plague lands, which not really a nice place, is it? Full of mushrooms and things growing out the ground. Lots of things to fly into there. Lovely. And I think in general, again, before we even had these races in the old classic zones, I was very much like, no, don't bother. Like, it's not going to work. There's just not enough in these zones to actually make it feel like, there's going to be obstacles and things. And I will again hold my hands up and say, wrong, because then we ventured to the lovely unclaimed city of Gilneas. Initially, reactions to this was going, wow, like this is an area that you don't really see, right? Like it's Worgen starting area, very much, Cataclysm vibes, and
not only do you not really see it often, you as a Worgen you play through it once on the ground, and that's it. I mean, you don't really go back there, and you not even after you have your flying mounts.
Yeah, exactly. So this was actually an experience, because when I got there to do the race, I was actually like, oh, hang on, I'm going to fly around Gilneas City, because I've actually never done that, because for the reasons we just mentioned. So we kicked off the races here as well. And again, it was like, I think it was more the fact that, I just don't really think I realized how much existed around here. So when we were dragon riding around, it was like, this is friggin' awesome. Like, we are taking a area in the game that is not really being used anymore, is, you know, it's got a layer of dust on the top of it, and we're going there with our dragons, and we are just blowing all that dust off, and we are making this somewhat relevant again. And without going too much into just how I did in the Gilneas race specifically, because if you saw the live stream, you will know that I spent nearly 2 hours in Gilneas, just, you know, slowly becoming a worgen as I lost my sanity doing these races. But environmentally, like how they pieced together the races again, you know, and specifically in Gilneas, it was just like, wow, this is great. Like, this is amazing, right?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, and this is just from the point of view of doing the race, that track. It's still up there as one of my favorites. I think that was a really, really good track overall. It was just fun flying, you know, through the city streets almost, and having to navigate those really, really quickly, because, you know, you're having quite the speed. So I think it's up there as one of my favorites. It's not my favorite one, but it's probably in the top 3 up there for the Eastern Kingdom.
It also made you realize just how small of is it even a city? Come on, it has like one street. It's not a city. It's a town.
It's that fun thing when you're down on the ground and you're questing, it seems pretty, you know, massive and impressive, but once you fly over it, you realize how small it actually is.
Yeah. So from Gilneas, I'm a bit of a blur, Marty, because, and this is maybe will fall into our little tips that we sometimes just give in general here without too much focus on them, but I was banging my head against the wall in this race, and at a certain point you were like, hey, why don't you just go and do some other races, get some feel good back, like, build up your confidence. And I did that, and, you know, to be fair, I went to the absolute opposite and went down to Booty Bay. And again, just fantastic how they have put these races into these classic zones. It just feels so natural. It's just very, very strange how, you know, these zones were built many years ago, revamped for Cataclysm, and the dragon riding races are fitting in here really well. And in some places, you know, I'm thinking like Karazhan or the Gurubashi race, which took part in Zul'Gurub of all places. Lots of little tight areas there that, you know, there's this rope bridge in Zul'Gurub that Marty had. You know, Marty was getting to know that rope bridge a bit too well, if I'm honest. And
I definitely did hit that rope bridge a few times where I did not plan on hitting it, but luckily the time to get through it was, I think if you just get through that bridge, then you're golden, then you should be fine, then you should be hitting the markers.
And I don't mind a bit of this jank. I'm just going to call it jank because it's it's from Cataclysm, and, you know, there's just parts there that it's not quite as smooth or rounded off as perhaps, you know, later expansions. And maybe we'll see that as Dragon Riding continues to visit all areas of Azeroth. But I don't mind that. I think like it adds to a little bit to its charm during these events. And there was, I think, a race in particular. What's the Booty Bay race as well, where there was just this one part in particular where you just couldn't see because of the trees, because of like graphically of how they look. You just were like flying blind.
Yeah, that was the Booty Bay one where all of a sudden you're just like, oh, there's a gate right in front of me. No, that's not a gate. Well, there's a gate, but I'm flying straight towards the pillar of the gate. You know, I need to get around that, but you couldn't see it until it was right in front of you. But I think it also goes, you know, you have to get some, you know, you start to appreciate, the development that has happened as well. Because when you look at, the old ways of doing forests, and I think, around Booty Bay, Stranglethorn Vale, definitely shows that, there's a lot of foliage in your camera all the time when you're flying around in those trees, whereas, new zones today, obviously you still have it sometimes high up in the trees. The surroundings themselves are not, blocking your view and things like that in the same way. So you can definitely see that there's, some advancement in technologies and how you're doing things and stuff like that. So it gives you an extra appreciation for that. But you're totally right. It also just adds, something to it, that it's still that good old foliage right in your camera when you're flying towards the pillar of a gate.
Yeah, and if you do find yourself banging your head against the wall like I was in Gilneas, literally banging your head against the wall. I wasn't completely, but almost. Switch it up, go somewhere else, get your feel good back. And when I did return to Gilneas, much later in the day, the sun had set, I did it first time. But also, that might have also been due to the fact that there is, and I'm realizing now, there is just a series of add-ons to help dragon riding a bit easier. There's weak auras you can get. There's a add-on that I downloaded called the Dragon Rider add-on, which just adds a little percentage underneath your vigor, and it color coordinates it to let you know like how fast you're actually going. And if it's in the red, you're obviously going slow. If it's in the yellow, you're medium, but you want to keep it in the blue, so you're going at a certain speed. And that really helped, I think, with a race like Gilneas, where it's just one of those races where it's like, don't spend all your vigor at once. Don't spend your vigor when you pick up a little green ball. Like, you've got to just know when to spend. And I think add-ons like that, if you do want to jump into the races, that can definitely make those things just a bit more easier to understand where you're perhaps losing your speed. Because I think that's one thing dragon racing perhaps doesn't do, because there's no real like timer or anything, that you can't really understand perhaps where you're losing your time. And I think that's what you need to know in order to get your best time. And
it can just be difficult to see as well, especially if you're flying a little bit, not if you're a little bit up in the air as well. It's difficult to see when you don't have things fly by you in a rapid phase, to see how fast you're actually going, or if you're keeping momentum and stuff like that. So it definitely helps a little bit, especially if you want to gold star all those tracks.
It's a strange feeling when you're on your dragon and you actually feel like you're going slow, isn't it? And you're just like, oh, I'm not moving at all, but actually you probably are moving a lot faster than your regular flying mount. But it's that perception when you're going so fast and you slow down, that actually you are still going faster than what you're used to, but it doesn't feel like that. So it's probably a good time to maybe, and we've mentioned already Gilneas, but Marty, what other races had you really enjoying this event?
My absolute favorite is the one that actually, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, we're sitting right in front of it. Crashworks Clash, I believe. And
not Clash of Kraz, Crashworks Clash.
Something like that. It's a difficult one to say for a Danish mouth over here. But no, I that one for me was the best one of all of them. I really, really loved flying around the Zeppelins and stuff like that. And even, you had to dodge the actual Zeppelin that brings Horde back and forth to the Toilet Islands. So, or maybe it's for Quest, not sure. But it was flying around as well, and you could hit it if you were unlucky. I don't know, just something about it that just spoke to me. Really, really loved that track.
The two tracks, and they put two in Twilight Highlands because they must have known it was just a good place to do that. And actually the other one they put in there, the Twilight Terror, I quite like that one as well, because there was a point in there where your starting point is really high up on the top of the Bastion of Twilight, the raid from Cataclysm. And obviously, well, when you're up, the only way is down. So you start off and you swirl around the tower, you do some flying down below there, but the finale is that you have to like accelerate almost directly upwards, and you go through one ring and you're like, oh, where's the next one? It's like, oh, it's directly above me, and you're just like shooting upwards. And it was just this sort of unique track that we hadn't really seen with anything else before. And again, like we keep saying, it's just like so creative how they, you know, implemented these races in. And we said it with Kalimdor as well. You know, you're starting to see parts of the world that you just perhaps wouldn't see otherwise, or you just wouldn't see it this way. And there's just something nice about going back to these areas and also just seeing players in these areas too.
And there's also just something satisfying with swooshing by really, really quickly in these old zones. I think another honorable mention could be the Karasan one. I really, really enjoyed that one as well, even though that it can be a little bit tight is in some areas where you have to navigate through the ravines really, really quickly, high speed. But no, I really, really enjoyed that one. And, you know, Karasan, I think that's just, you know, it's a great place. Loved the raid as well. Loved the mega dungeon. There's just something about that place that's magical, right?
Great place for dragons to go.
Exactly.
And die. Another place as well, just Elwyn Forest. It's not that memorable for me, but again, I'm just impressed they managed to get a race in there, because it was one when I was doing it where I just thought, this doesn't feel like Elwyn Forest. Like, because I'm moving that fast, it's just, again, that perception of seeing these zones at high speed, it just feels like, I can't believe this is Elwyn Forest. I can't believe this is where, like, once upon a time I was running around killing Hogger and dying to Princess. You know, it's just, I'm lost for words really about it, but it's just, for me, I'm looking forward to like seeing more of these and just going back to more of the other continents as well, and just seeing how they actually fit this in. And it feels like, you know, based on the fact that they're adding them to the old world, it feels like this could be almost like a permanent fixture going forward as well for like new content, because much like, you know, how Pet Battles was a big hit, it feels like Dragon Racing might just be that sort of default in-game activity as well. Do you feel like we're heading along those tracks?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so, because I'm having so much fun with these. I would love to see more. I would love to go to some of the you know, other expansions and stuff as well. And speaking to that, where would you want to head to next if you could pick? Would you just, you know, go by expansion, or do you want to go to somewhere completely different? If it was all up to you.
Take me to Vashir. I want to see. I want like, that's the only thing I was disappointed about, that we didn't get a dragon race down in Vashir. I know I want to see like that technological aspect of underwater dragon racing, but no, I mean,
now over to the real answer.
I think it would make sense to go by expansion. It makes sense to probably go to Outlands next. And to me, I'm just like, I don't know about Outlands, but you know, because that is the oldest content in the game. Outlands is, and if they can make it work there, they'll make it work anywhere. And you know, it probably makes sense to do it like that. And you know, based on the fact that we've had it in Kalimdor and Eastern Kingdoms, it feels like it's just, you know, it's just going to happen, like Outlands Cup, bring it on kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could see a lot of different zones in Outlands that would work perfectly for it. Nagrand would be grand because of the floating islands in the air and stuff like that. What's it called? The spiky area that
Blade's
nobody
Edge
liked.
Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Blade Edge Mountain. Maybe it would actually turn into, you know, an area people will like now when there's an awesome race there.
It feels like there could be a lot of fatalities there, because I feel like those blades were meant to like counter dragons, weren't they?
I mean, yeah, they were actually. So perfect place to have a dragon race, right?
Dragon race deathmatch, more like. But yes, we will see what is in store for us in the next version of dragon racing in the older expansions. One thing I will say is please do not add challenge modes to these, because I will definitely not be doing them.
It annoys me that they're undone in my achievement list, but I just cannot get myself to do them.
So yes, we'll see what's next. We're hoping for more. Really enjoyed this event in the game as well. What did you think about it? How are you getting on with dragon racing? Are you loving it? Are you eating it up? Do you want more races, or are you just like, come on, we've done it, like it should have stayed in the Dragon Isles, how dare you take it away from there? Let us know in the places that you can do that. And I've been Thom, that has been Marty, we've been talking WoW, and I felt like I was going to say something else, but I'm not. Bye!
Thanks for tuning in, champion! Did you enjoy this episode of Talking WoW? If so, why not drop a review on your podcast catcher of choice, or leave us a comment? You can find Talking WoW on Twitter or YouTube over at Talking WoW. Hope to see you again soon!